Good afternoon, good evening to all of my wonderful and beautiful little lovelies out there. And how I love you all so, and I hope that you're all super duper well, super duper wonderful, and super duper delish. And that life is treating you most deliciously. I hope that we're feeling the love. We continue to feel the love, my little honey bunnies. Now then, I wasn't going to put a video today, my delicious little babies. No, I was not. Okay, but yes, I feel the need to speak about something. Now then, my delicious little babies, and I hope that wherever you are in the world, that life is treating you most deliciously. So what's the time, Mr. Wolsey? It's 25 past 11 on the 9th of August 2026, my delicious little babies. Now I've woken up and I said, it's somebody's birthday today, and I cannot spare a thought for who it is anyway. Ones need to keep a handle on it. So whoever it is, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, whoever it is in the world, my delicious little babies. I don't know why. 9th of August 2000. I do get days like this, my delicious little babies. It's like it's someone's birthday. There we are. I'm saying it's someone's birthday. They could either be here, still on our earth, or they may have departed this earth. Anyway, my delicious little babies, okay? Whatever it was 1993. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now then, so, okay. So I've got the first one, Avery. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that. I got that, when I was preparing myself to talk to your beautiful little selves, my delicious little babies, Avery. Now then, my delicious little babies, there's no wind, no rain. And it's really rather lovely and deliciously warm out. It is trying to sunshine, okay? But it's a really lovely and pleasant day, so we're not complaining, are we, my delicious little babies? And I hope that wherever you are, that the weather too is delicious and wonderful, okay? If it isn't, well, not to worry, not to worry. We're still alive, aren't we, my delicious little babies? Even though some are trying to rid us of this earth. Okay, my delicious little babies, now then. So, what is it that I want to say to you? So, okay, there's a mixture that's going on today. Okay, my delicious little babies, you should have heard me this morning. In my flat, my delicious little babies. I know that my beautiful little babies listen to myself. You know the main Auntie Carla's little baby. They listen. My beautiful dear little angels, beautiful dear little spirit guards. They all listen to myself. You know what I mean? My beautiful dear little creator listens. Okay, so not to worry about that. Okay, can you see little Esmeralda? She's got two. See, she's grown all lovely now. Got rid of the old leaves and let the new grow back. Okay, my delicious little babies now then. So the first one I've got, my delicious little babies. This is our date, and with anybody not in that way, not in that way. Now, for most of these, it will only be a one-off that I advertise. Okay, my delicious little babies. So the first one. This is 16.2 thousand subscribers, and it's our dear, not in that way, not in that way. All in capitals, my delicious little babies, okay, and bless his dear little soul. Mag, all spaces, Mag, Bitter Truth, official, next level. Okay, that's the uploader. Okay, my delicious little babies, I do advertise Mag, bless him sometimes, okay. Now, he too is going through this stage of being demonetized from YouTube, my delicious little babies. You see what I mean? This is what happens, you see, when ones are telling the damn truth, isn't it? And bless each and every one of them, not in that way, not in that way. What do they receive? They receive either, demonetized, or they receive where, they cannot get their videos out. You know what I mean? Because dear Mag, bless him, there we are. Before I even say it, he should have way more subscribers. If you go on to BitChute, which I advertised BitChute years ago a lot, my delicious little babies, till it got taken out of our country, very sadly. Well, Mag has a lot more subscribers on there. There we are, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? And rightfully so. rightfully so, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? But they do not want ones to point out the truth now. Now, what is this about? What is this about, my delicious little babies? Well, I'm going to tell you what this video is about. Now, I happen to know actually some who eat, it's a takeaway, isn't it, called Taco Bell? You know, Taco Bell, TACOBELL, Taco Bell. I'm going to send them that video actually, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Because this is to do with some form of food poisoning, to do with the lettuce, but this is born in the USA under a Walmart, which in our old England most would know as Asda. Ding ding, you know what I mean, my delicious little babies. Well, I've talked about lettuce for whatever o'clock, because I remember when I was very wee young last little, that lettuce never used to, I mean, of course, you know, it doesn't have much of a taste at the best of times. Some are sharper than others, like rockets, lettuce, salad, or whatever, you know what I mean? But, you know, you mix it up with a few sauces and things now. Plenty of salt, plenty of pepper, my delicious little babies. Or, you know, ones might like paprika, you know, sweet or smoked or something, whatever they like. Others might like a bit of celery salt on it. Anyway, this is not talking about, you know, food today. My delicious little babies. I'm just pointing some things out, okay? Well, there appears to be a problem with the lettuce. Well, I noticed as I got older, you know, and others noticed that if you ate the lettuce, my delicious little babies, okay, you'd want to fall asleep. So that's in our old England, my delicious little babies. So this has been going on whatever o'clock, decades. There we are. My delicious little babies. This is nothing new. Okay, there we are, as I keep pointing out. Okay, why does one feel that certain foods, there we are, will make them feel drained? Other foods will not do that. Okay, so say for example, one eats a meal. I mean, anyway, this is not what I comment on here for, but anyway, I'm just going to point it out while I'm on this flipping reel. Okay, remember the old reels, my delicious little babies, you know, in the cinemas. You know, then they did they change it then? But it used to be all reels, didn't it? My delicious little babies, just made me mention something. Now then, my delicious little babies, well, the fact of the matter is you can eat a meal and you can feel, there we are, deliciously well after it. I know that I do, okay? But then you could eat something else and it just feels heavy, and then it makes one feel, there we are, most sluggish. That's the old-fashioned saying, my delicious babies, you just feel sluggish after eating it, okay? Well, that would tell myself, as it would tell yourselves, my delicious babies, that there must be something in that food that doesn't sit right with your system. You see what I mean? And lettuce, unfortunately, well, it never used to be that way, but unfortunately, it seems to have a sleepy effect. So, I mean, what is it? What are they drugging it with? Are they drugging it with sleeping tablets or something? There we are. They've got to be drugging it with something to make ones feel sleepy, or some sort of other medication. There's got to be something in it, hasn't there, my delicious little babies? You know what I mean? Because ones wouldn't just feel tired after eating lettuce for no reason. But like I said, I've known this, there we are, for many decades now, okay? So let's get back to the matter in hand, because I want to eat my, I'm a bit late this morning. Some days I like to eat breakfast and other days I do not. I'm just not in the mood. It just depends, you know. I like to have my cup of coffee, and some days I like to have my cup of tea. You know what I mean? It just depends how I'm feeling on the day. I adore coffee, of course I do, but a real good strong cup of tea, okay? You cannot beat that either. Do you know what I mean? Okay? But I haven't had nothing, so I've thought to myself, what shall I have today? And what I'm going to have is, I know it's not going to, you know, not everybody's going to be into this, but I thought, shall I have Marmite or shall I have, so I've chosen cream cheese and set honey on toast. My delicious little babies, that's what I'm going to have. okay, when I finish my video, okay, my delicious babies. And I know for a fact it's not going to make myself feel, slushy or sluggish or anything, you know what I mean, okay? It's just a couple of slices, you know what I mean? And then sometimes I like jam and cream cheese on my toast. I just have these funny sort of taste buds, mad. Well, I do not feel it's funny myself, but to somebody else, it might be, you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm not going to ramble on about this any longer, okay? I'm trying to make my video rather quick. So, it's all to do with this, and what dear Maggie's doing is he's pointing out, my delicious babies, let's go over the dots, really, what the crack is all about here. Okay, now, with Mag, his video is, what is it, over 47 minutes long, my delicious babies, I'll just write that down. Okay, my delicious babies, so please, if anybody's interested, because you've got to remember, for those who are not aware of this, my delicious babies, because believe it or not everybody is, but over born in the USA, they're more open, and they're done telling you. There we are, my delicious babies, yes they are, okay, whereas over here, they keep it shushy, you know what I mean, my delicious babies, but there's a lot of truth in there we are in some of the news channels over there, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? You just gotta listen and see for those of us who are blessed to see and hear very carefully. Now then, my delicious babies, so and he's also talking about the famine. Yes, because that's what he's driving to, and then he's talking about they call it gasoline, we call it oil. Okay, but it all amounts to the same, doesn't it, my delicious babies? But the fact of the matter is, he's absolutely damn correct, isn't it? Because if you haven't got oil, or if you haven't got, you know what I mean, or even things for cooking, well, the fact of the matter is it's going to cause problems, isn't it? Okay, so it's very important, and this is why I give out the information, there we are, that I do. But of course, very, very, very little even see my videos, but it's all bad design, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? But that's all right, with myself, me, myself, and I. Remember that song, remember the lyrics, and remember the year of the song. Now then, my delicious babies, so what's the next one I've got for you? So this uploader happens to have bless dear Mag, and bless anybody, any dears who I advertise, okay, not in that way, apart from one anyway. 19.1 thousand subscribers, my delicious little babies. This uploader is called In Little Writing. It's all together, 2 words and 2 numbers. Red card, yeah. Seen quite a few red cards, haven't we? My delicious little babies with the old football. Red card 74. Look at that. Okay, my delicious babies, that's the uploader. Red card 74, no spaces. So it's 2 words and 2 numbers. Okay, my delicious little babies. This video is just over 44 minutes long, and the video should read Crime Watch UK, January 1993. Okay, my delicious little babies, I'll just repeat that again for you. Crime Watch UK, January 1993. I used to like the tune to that. Yeah, it's a good tune to it, do you know what I mean? Okay? Anyway, I'm not talking about the crimes that have been committed, I'm talking about music. Well, the fact of the matter is, my delicious little babies, is this. I mean, I was only 93, I was 20. Look at that, my delicious little babies. So this is 32 years ago, nearly 33 years ago now, my delicious little babies. Look at that, that's not coding. I'm wanting ones, my delicious little babies, to take bits and pieces, to take bits and pieces out of, there we are, the videos that I'm advertising today. This is the reason why I do what I do, and I do it as a hobby, as I clearly, there we are, keep pointing out, okay? But for those of our delicious little babies who's been so very kind enough to listen to myself, so thank you for any views, for any likes, for the occasional comments, okay? Because I know that there's always someone seeing and there's always someone hearing, you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter really what YouTube does. The fact of the matter is, is that one way or another, there we are, the message gets out. A message to you, Rudy. You know what I mean? Now then, my delicious babies, always what I sing and what I say. Okay? Please and thank you. The next one, my delicious little babies. This is called capital O, these are spaces, old, space, these are in capitals, TV, and then space, capital A, archive. So it should read spaces, uploader, old TV, archive. And they happen to have 1.92 thousand subscribers, my delicious little babies, just over 24 minutes long, not coding. And the video should read BBC 9 o'clock news full bulletin, 21st of November 1980. Well, in 1980, my delicious little babies, yes, I can add up when I want to. I was 7. Okay, my delicious little babies, so I was 7. Okay. What did I say about little bairns now? Up to the age of 7, you know, like they have their own little mans, you know, their little noddles. But then after 7, apparently it goes this way. That's what they say, my delicious little babies. Whether I believe it is another matter. I'll just repeat this again for you, shall I? BBC 9 o'clock news, full bulletin, 21st of November 1980. Yes, my delicious little babies, I repeat again, it's a case of taking bits, there we are, and pieces out of what I'm saying. Now, finally, my delicious little babies, I tipped off Avery, haven't I? Yeah, Every. This final one, now I remember advertising, because let me just first of all tell you, I do advertise this channel, Uploader, every now and again. Happens to have 9.34 million. Well, that's very colossal, isn't it, Marty? But mind you, there's other channels that have got even higher than that. Okay, my delicious little babies, I'll have to have a sieve through, and then we'll find the ones with the most subscribers ever. It won't take me long to find. Okay, my delicious little babies, no, it will not. Okay, like I always say, if ones get to a certain number, there we are, we've got to ask why, you know what I mean? Because from what I can see, there's a lot more, it seems to be shrinking, there we are, rather than getting larger. Of course, the more that chatty, the more that goes on, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? They get that, not in literal terms, it's a figure of speech, that stranglehold. You know what I mean? My delicious little babies, it's like, naughty, stay in your box, stay in your net. Do you know what I mean? My delicious little babies, yes. Now then, this is over 35 minutes long. And the uploader is called capital B, these with spaces, B, space, capital I, inspired. Okay, so it's B space inspired. That's the uploader, my delicious babies. I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee, please, and thank you. Good day. I bought this cup, whatever. Sorry, never need to stumble there. Whatever o'clock ago. It's a good little cup, you know. Okay, my delicious babies. It's a lovely cup. Now then, my delicious babies. The video should read, the man who saw behind reality. Okay, my delicious babies, so I'm going to repeat this again, once again for you. The man who saw behind reality. Now, I'm just going to tick it off. Hold on, little Maze, please, babe. Okay, babe, okay. I'll be with you in a minute, okay? Hold on, just let me get something to eat. Won't be a minute, my delicious babies, please, and thank you. Sorry about this. I'm sorry about that, my delicious little babies. It's all right, because I just need to finish my video. I mean, I've got no problem with the babies, you know, jumping up when I'm doing my video, but it's just I just need to get it done, okay? So I really need to quickly explain this. So, you know, I do apologise, you know, for, you know, putting it on a pause. Okay, my delicious babies, now then. So I advertised who the uploader is, Be Inspired. I advertised the dear gentleman, not in that way, not in that way. I advertised him, there we are, whatever o'clock back. Now, once again, um, my videos do not get out, as I've said, but I advertised long time back. Okay, my delicious babies, there we are, that is what I do. Okay, I like to give food for thought, food for thought. That is what I like to do, my delicious babies. Do you see what I mean? Yes. So, what he's talking about is the Chinese, is he a Chinese or Japanese gentleman? All right, mate, all right. Sorry. I'm sorry about that, my delicious little babies. It's all right. She's just, yeah, she's been circling around the camera, my beautiful little Maisie, as my delicious little babies. It's when I mention certain things, because I put something for her to eat and she doesn't want anything to eat, okay? She was just circling when I'm talking about this, my delicious little babies. Anyway, so this dear gentleman now, bless him, I personally find his videos very interesting, but I've got to own up to this, I never heard this particular video. So I've heard other little videos, but I haven't heard, well, actually, they're not little, they're rather long videos, okay? What your man there, the dear gentleman, talks about now then is he talks about when we go way back. Now, I've talked about this, my delicious babies, and I need to make a point here. I've talked about this. I said, so we need to go back to the land. There we are. And I've been done saying it. Now, I personally do not need to listen to any video now to tell myself, okay? It is how I feel inside. There we are. How I feel inside of myself. It's really hard to explain. So I was listening to this today, but I know what I'm saying. But I was listening to this today, my delicious babies, and I thought, yes, this is what I've been saying. There we are, for whatever o'clock. You know what I mean? Now, he was also mentioning the dear gentleman, your man there, because Be Inspired is showing this video of this elderly gentleman, okay, your man there. He's saying that, it's what you eat, and, and he's also talking about, cheese. Well, again, I'm not going to, I will agree because, and I will mention this, my delicious babies, because I'm looking at a lot of videos lately as well to see what foods are real and what foods are not, because this has been, there we are, circling for a long time, and actually for decades, okay? I can name a number of cheeses that certainly do not taste like cheese, and furthermore, they do not melt, okay? And that's one of the things that you would notice straight away. So if you're doing cheesy on toast and it doesn't melt, I could name a number, there we are, cheeses that do not do that. Okay, my delicious babies, and I'll tell you why, because I've tested it, there we are myself. Okay, my delicious babies, but I watched something years ago. It's got to have been about 15 years ago, easy, on the television, and occasionally they do tell the truth. And then one of the, it came out at top, and the cheese, believe it or not, was Asda Smart Price. Ones were blind tasting. I do not mean blindfolded. I've talked about this anyway years ago, and I've talked about it on my videos years ago as well, and way before I ever done YouTube channel, okay? But anything like that, I will sit up and listen to. And they put all different cheeses, expensive ones, and all this jazz. And the one who came in, and that, like I said, going back at least 15 years ago, the one that everybody chose, and it surprised the judges because they probably thought, oh, it's going to be so many of one and so many of the other, but no. It was everybody who tasted the same cheese. That came in at number one. And guess what? It appears it was one of the only cheeses, there we are, that was real. And it was that ones, these snobby, pompous pieces of shat, you know what I mean? Like their own shat doesn't stink, la-di-da and all this shat, right? Where they go and buy all this expensive cheeses. Well, all these cheese boards, right? The fact of the matter is, what came in at the first was Asda Smart Price, that ones had turned the nose up at, that what they class as poor families. No, not poor at all, my delicious babies. Okay, may not have as much ka-ching, but let me tell you, they clearly had, there we are, damn well common sense as how to shop. You know what I mean? Because they were buying the real cheese. For the others, and I'll tell you what, it shocked the judges. It did. You know what I mean? So, you've got to look at things, okay? Things that look super duper cheap, okay? Do not be fooled by these expensive labels, because for a lot of them, they've bought out the original families who have made the brand in the first place, which at that time was real. But of course, when they're bought out by these colossal corporate businesses, they cut corners and put shat in your food. Do you see what I mean, my delicious babies? And they put shat in your water. So that's how it rock and rolls. Do you see what I mean? So that's why I don't feel anywhere. If I buy, let me just give you an example of what I buy. So if I buy cream, I would buy a Waitrose cream. Okay, if I buy, let's just say I want kidney beans. Well, I could buy kidney beans that you got to soak, but generally speaking, you have to soak them overnight. You know what I mean? It's a long process. But if you want to make it quick, like say if you're doing a chili or something like this now, I would buy Waitrose Essential or Aldi's Essential, or do you understand what I mean? Okay, I try to avoid, there we are, at all costs the most expensive. There we are, the most expensive. I do try different things out, and sometimes I'll do it on my camera, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? I'm pointing, there we are, every time something out. So just to let anybody know out there, please just do not go for the most expensive. And when you stood in a queue or whatever you're doing at whatever o'clock, never look at somebody else, what they've got on their conveyor belt, and say to yourself, oh, I wish I could have that. No. You never wish that, because that is how, there we are, they deceive. There we are. That is how they rock and roll this. They deceive. Do you see what I'm saying, my delicious? There we are. Okay? Get back to the matter in hand. So the cheese bit, okay, I got your man there, your elderly gentleman, with what he was saying. But again, if you go back in time, okay, how did ones live? Okay, how did they live before the food and water, there we are, was being poisoned? How did they live? Simple things. I ask questions, there we are. I ask questions, my delicious little babies, just like when one say about supplements, when one say about another one that came into my noddle. Anyway, I've talked about this on and off. The protein that one's to do bodybuilding or whatever else they do. Why not just have 2 raw egg, which is what ones used to have decades ago? This is simple things. It's common sense. So where were we before supplements? Where were we before these poxy protein things, which I watched one, and there was only 2 out of 25 that actually were any good for somebody or somebody's. All the rest, you wouldn't pee on it, man. Okay, my delicious babies, then ones wonder why they're poorly. So I'm not saying that to be damn nasty. I'm just, there we are, done telling it the way it is. This is why, with what I say, ones are not a liking, because with the best will in the world, ones do not want to hear the truth, do they? That this is not what ones want to hear, because it is painful. It is painful to the noddle, and it is painful to the soul. There we are, to hear the truth. That, our putrid, who are supposed to be running our countries, governments and that they would even consider doing that to us. Do you see what I mean? Okay, ones just do not want to hear it because it's affecting their little boxes. It's affecting, there we are, their little bubbles. So I'm not insulting anybody. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not being patronising. I'm not doing anything now. I'm just simple things, telling it the way it is. There we are. Okay? So I said about the lamb bit. What else did he mention? So he was talking about the cheese, and he was talking about food and water, but most importantly, which is what I've been talking about, and other dear uploaders, okay, have also, there we are, been talking about, is the fact that when we come into the world, my delicious little babies, we do not come into the world to work. He was done saying it. Now, right at the end, my delicious little babies, there is a book that he wrote. Okay, my delicious little babies, I'm not one to be advertising many books. No, I'm not. I'm very selective, there we are, of who I advertise, okay, and who I advertise for ones with their books and everything, okay. I'm very, there we are, selective there, because I don't want to get into that crack, you know what I mean, okay. This is not a book selling exercise, okay, my delicious little babies. I'm very selective, like, there we are, like I said, okay, and I know who I advertise, okay, and rightfully so, okay, which is the ones who, there we are, have the bloody damn well solutions. You know what I mean, Martins? Well, I have the solution myself. And some would say, well, I'm a nobody. No, I'm not a nobody. Your selves, your beautiful little selves who are listening to myself today, you're not a nobody. We are all, there we are, beautiful, and we are all strong. We have, there we are, all had experiences in our lives, there we are, which make us who we are today. Okay, but what your man here, your dear elderly gentleman, was talking about, the one with the book, and it'd be really interesting, my delicious babies, if ones could buy that book. In fact, I'm going to buy it. If I can get hold of it, I will buy it myself. Okay, my delicious babies. Well, and it's not like myself. I do not buy as many books these days. I used to have tons, there we are, tons of books, you know what I mean? I should really get back into buying some books. But again, I'm very selective in how I play it, okay, and what type of books, okay? Otherwise, you can just get carried away. But the point is, are you going to learn anything from the exercise of reading? You know what I mean? If you're just bombarding yourself, boom, 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 with all these books, but it's not really creating a solution at the end. It's like somebody telling you a joke and you've got no punchline. It's like that. That's the best way for me to explain it, my delicious babies. Do you understand what I mean, okay? Have you ever sat in somebody's company and you're waiting for them to tell you the rest of the joke? It's like that, my delicious little babies, and we've all been there. It's like watching effing paint dry. You know what I mean, my delicious little babies? So that's what I'm saying. So if you're going to choose a book, not to get carried away. I know that ones say, oh, buy this book or buy this book, but you've got to buy books. Okay, everybody's had a laugh. Everybody's had our existence. We're still existing on this earth for those of us who are blessed to do so. The point is, well, there should be millions more who should have been blessed to do so, shouldn't they, my delicious babies, just like our beautiful little babies, sons and daughters, little and large animals, little and large birdies, creatures great and small, should have all had that luxury, because it appears, my delicious babies, that these and the little lackeys want us to class it as a luxury, when really it is our Creator's right for us all to just be able to live in peace, love, harmony and happiness. Okay, my delicious little babies. So anyway, so the point of the matter is, he's talking about work. He's talking about everything now that I've been talking about. Yeah. But I never needed to look at no video to tell myself, because I've been done saying this for whatever o'clock and whatever bloody decade, there we are, whatever decades I've been saying it for. Do you see what I mean? I worked for decades myself, my delicious little babies, okay? But in reality, where does it get you? It gets you tired. Look at how many in the world, some do 2 jobs, some do 3 jobs, some, if they do 1 job, okay? Then they come home, for most. If they haven't been shopping, they've probably got to go out and get a bit of, food, okay? Or a bit of water to, to water themselves and feed themselves, okay? They come home, have a shower, probably watch a couple of hours or whatever, or maybe catch up with some other work in the home. And then it's in your cot, get your shutter, back up, start again. Well, therefore, you're classed as a robot. There we are, you're classed as a robot, aren't you? Mad delicious babies. So what you dear elderly man, gentleman, your man there's saying is that we were not put here for this reason, which is everything, there we are, that I've been saying. But we're in such a situation, my delicious babies, there we are. And this is what I feel the need to explain today. That, say for once, now for myself, I absolutely, there we are, I really enjoy my own company. Okay, my delicious babies. Now, okay, fair enough, let's get real. If I met somebody, okay, which of course, I will do one day, and, I meet them, well, of course, I'm part of their laugh, they're part of my laugh. So we should be able to enjoy each other's laugh and love one another, put each other on a pedestal, and hopefully live happily, there we are, ever after. Do you understand what I mean, okay? But until that day comes, okay, this is just myself personally, I happen, there we are, to enjoy my own company. I happen to enjoy my beautiful little babies, who I call my little daughters. And I did have my beautiful little sons, you know what I mean? But very sadly, they're no longer with myself and my other little daughters, you know what I mean? But the point is, my delicious babies, I can enjoy myself. I can talk to my neighbours. I can go walking out and about, have a little conversation with others, just, just a short and sweet conversation, not in that way, not in that way, and just carry on about my day. Be out in nature, just enjoy it, just enjoy waking up in the morning. The beauty, and to myself, is a miracle to wake up. We shouldn't have to feel that way, but that is the way it is. Do you know what I mean, my delicious babies? And of course, let it continue for all of us, for you and I and everybody. But not everybody, my delicious babies. And it is, there we are. And you see it, it's been proven. I've seen it so many times. I've spoken, there we are, to how many in my decades. And the one thing now that they really just do not like is being on their own. So if they're not working, okay, and they've done everything in the home and everything like this now, then they get what I would call a bit lost, because they do not know what to do with themselves, because they're always working, always doing something. Well, I always say, like when you get workaholics, my delicious babies, this is why they're workaholics, because if they have to stop what they're doing and then just sit there and say, for example, just do nothing, to some, it doesn't sit correctly with them. So sometimes they can maybe be a bit uncomfortable with it. There we are. Do you know what I mean, my delicious little babies? Okay? That's why you look at ones in retirement. Now, I could say so much, my delicious little babies. Some embrace retirement. For others, they're lost. So unless they've got like a little hobby to do or something like that, they are lost. Then that is when the depression then sets in. And I've known this, my delicious little babies, there we are, over the decades. Oh yes, I have. There we are. Oh yes, I have. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now, the final thing I want to say, what you was talking about, was cakes. Now, I have something to say here, my delicious little babies, and I'm going to be over and out. Well, even though I was never into baking when I was little, anyway, I've told everybody about when I was young. I really had no interest, zero interest in baking. Cooking, yes, baking, not. Okay? It wasn't that, it's because I never really had a sweet tooth. And I just thought it was just boring to me. Up until some months ago, like I said, it's got to be around 4 months, that I started to bake. Now, when I look at, now this is where I slightly disagreed with that part, Okay, my delicious little babies, because when I look at recipes, my delicious little babies, say I'm just be done telling you. So say the recipe says a cup of sugar, okay? A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. The medicine go down. The medicine go down. You know what I mean? Well, if it says a cup, I will do just under half a cup of sugar. Okay, so straight away I've cut it in half. So if it says 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and I usually buy the expensive one. So if it says one, if I feel when I'm doing the mixing that I need another spoon, then I put in another spoon. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay? But if it says half a cup of milk, then I'll put in just under half a cup of milk. Do you understand what I mean? If it says you need 4 eggs, I will put in 3 eggs. Okay, my delicious little babies, because I'm trying all different ways. Okay, my delicious babies. Now, when I was growing up, and this is where I slightly disagreed with your man, your dear elderly gentleman there. Now, when my beautiful dear little, so I've always said good morning, my beautiful, and good afternoon, good evening, good night again. My beautiful dear little Nana and Grandad, and then of course my beautiful dear little Nana, she used to do a lot of baking because she knew that we were coming. Okay, my delicious little babies, we used to spend more time in Hull than we did in Brummyland, as I've said before, in Birmingham. Okay, in England, my delicious little babies. So when she used to know we were coming, she'd make the bread, she'd make the cakes, everything, all different types of cakes, okay? And she'd do her own mince pies. Oh, I loved her mince pies, okay? My delicious bite. Well, I loved everything that my beautiful dear little Nana did. I loved everything. And there's nothing like home baking, you know what I mean? Okay, you can buy it from a shop, but it's not the same as home baking, right? And she'd know we were coming, and it was exciting. She'd be enjoying what she was doing, and furthermore, she enjoyed it because when we were young, and even when we dear dad, we'd have our breakfast, we'd have our lunch, which you used to call dinner, and then we'd have our tea. So in our old England, we would call it tea. So it's only in a certain number of years where ones call it dinner. It's not dinner because dinner's at lunchtime. But anyway, that's just my thoughts, my delicious little babies. That's my view. Woman with a view, she'll have me effing view. The point is, my delicious babies, we would have our tea, and then we have a slight rest, and then we would have our pudding, which they used to call puddings, and then of course they call them desserts. Do you understand what I mean? Okay, so you can see how times have changed, the wording's changed, everything's changed. Okay, so what's the point I'm making? Your dear elderly gentleman there, your dear man there, he said, your man, that, he would have associated cakes with sadness. Well, no, because if you looked at the average family, going back decades ago, my delicious babies, and before I was a twinkle in the eye, decades before that, they always used to have a sweet. Okay, my delicious babies, but families used to all be together. They used to eat together. They used to be together. They used to laugh together. And I know that because I was very blessed to have that as I was growing up with my beautiful, sweet, dear little Nana and Grandad. How I love them so. Until very sadly, my beautiful dear Grandad was taken too soon. But the fact of the matter is, this is what we had. We were all around the table. We'd all have our meal together. We'd all, you know what I mean? You're not allowed to leave until your plate's empty. That's how it used to be. There was none of this in decades later where, one little bairn has this meal, another little bairn has that meal, and you're cooking 4 or 5 different meals. There's none of that. What was on your plate, you get what you're given, and you'd be thankful and grateful for it. And then a short time, just to pause, get the plates away, and then you would have your pudding, what they used to call pudding. Okay, my delicious babies. And it was joyous, and it was beautiful, and it was a beautiful existence to sit around that table. That was the last true time, and I'm being honest, my delicious little babies, that's the only time I ever had true happiness. I never ever experienced happiness like that ever again in my life. Not even with my daughters, my delicious little babies. Nobody could take my memories away from when I was little. Nobody. And that's what these little effers and the little effing lackeys that we are trying to erase from our noddles, from yours and our noddles, my delicious little babies. So that part of what he was saying, I never agreed with. But maybe if he's talking about, because you can have some desserts. I was looking at some yesterday evening, like they look like little mousses and things like that. Very good for you, very healthy, very fruity, full of fruit and things. And then you got some cream and everything in it, and, sometimes cream cheese or whatever, but very healthy. You know what I mean? So it depends what type of cakes you have, what type of. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. If you go, sorry, excuse me, to the average shop, yes, you're going to find it's got a ton of sugar, a ton of bloody whatever else it's got in it, and same with sweets, numbers or whatever else, okay? But at least if you're doing home baking, doing home baking, okay, my delicious babies, you know what you're putting in. There we are. That's the beauty of it. You know what you're putting in. When you buy shop bought, unless say you went to a farm and they do homemade cakes or something, then you're getting something very different. So he could have been meaning it's that way, but no, it was meant as a joyous thing. What about weddings? As another example, you go to a wedding, don't you? So well, I've never been to a wedding where they do not have anything sweet to eat, whether it be fruit, whether it be, you know what I mean? When I used to do barbecues, I used to do a selection of different desserts, fruit, cream, fresh fruit, cream, well, as fresh as I could get it, and things like this. So that one's had a selection. I'd probably put a couple of cakes there if somebody wanted a bit of cake, but I made sure I put a lot of fresh juice, I put a lot of fresh fruit with cream and, things like this now then. Do you see what I mean? So it wasn't just a barbecue. But I'm only going on, there we are, how I was blessed to be brought up. But we must remember that the food was different then, the cream, everything was different until I started injecting. Yeah, stumbled there, rightfully so, not changing my video. Okay, so you talk to a lot of the older generation, they will tell you point blank, which is another reason why they didn't want, not a wanting, very sadly, those beautiful dear little souls who are really elderly here on this earth, because they remember, there we are, how it used to be. Okay, so you have to see how it all rocks and rolls. So I didn't agree with that part, like when I bake my cakes, because like I said, I've got well into this lark now, you know what I mean, my delicious little babies. And it's rough and ready, you know what I mean? It doesn't look all this bloody posh shit. At the end of the day, it looks the way it looks. But guess what? I've never had one bad compliment about it, comment. It's all been compliments, sorry. You know what I mean? I've always had a compliment, okay? Never a bad review at all, okay? Because I know, there we are, what I'm doing. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, okay? You do not need to tuck into a cake and have it so sweet that it makes you feel like projecting in a bucket, like it's sickly. And I'm pretty sure that you and Dad, unless somebody who cannot have cakes or something due to intolerance or something, okay? I'm pretty sure that somewhere in your life, each and every one of us have done that. You just think, gosh, that tastes so sickly. You know what I mean, my delicious babies? Well, that's tons of everything that really is not good for you. But when you look at families, no. I'm totally in disagreement with this. And you know something? And I'm going to tell you this straight up, okay? So maybe I have got my beautiful dear little Nana's spirit, like she's locked into me, you know what I mean, my delicious babies, because when she used to make jam tarts, lemon curd, orange, whatever, mince pies, the pastry was never sweet. Okay, my delicious babies, and the reason was because my beautiful dear little Nana used to say, she used to say there's enough sweet in what I put in the centre. So the outside was not overly sweet at all, okay? And that, there we are, is how it's supposed to be, okay? And if you put a little bit of salt or whatever, you know, in some ingredients, you know what I mean, okay? Like yesterday evening, I thought, oh, I fancy some popcorn. So I thought, what shall I make? I thought, oh, I'll make some toffee popcorn. Okay, it didn't take me 5 minutes to make it, my delicious babies, you know, while I was watching some videos. Because I suppose you need the popcorn with some of them, don't you, my delicious babies? Yes. But anyway, that's the end of my video. So if one seemed to find my videos boring or nauseous or whatever, well, fine. You know, nobody has to watch my videos, skip the channel. Services is not required. I'm only here to give out information, to give my views, my opinions on how I see something. But to say that, oh, nobody can, you know, that cakes are very sweet, you know, but like I said, you know, I'm going by the way I heard it, but then I'm also going by the way I was brought up to be. But I certainly wouldn't say, okay, that cakes are for sadness. No. So I'm not too sure where that part came from. I've got nothing, honestly, I've got nothing across my shoulders. If I felt that that was correct, I would, there we are, be done telling you, but I do not feel that so. You know what I mean? Anything is good if it's done, there we are, correctly. If it's not correct and there's too much of something in it, no, you've got to question it. Okay, Mark, there we are, Mark delicious babies, that's what I'm saying. But he could be talking about something else, I do not know, you know. But, I mean, in different countries, they have different things, like some of them like blancmange. I'm not particularly into that sort of thing. And not only that, I do not like the gelatin. I mean, the gelatin in itself is the inside of a cow's tummy, the beautiful, sweet little baby cows. So now I just, do you understand what I mean? I mean, the cream, you know, our beautiful dear little cows have been around for whatever o'clock, whatever decades, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? So cream, butter, cheese, well, it is natural. I mean, I'm not so sure I agree with them pulling on their teeth, you know, 24/7, but bless the beautiful dear little souls. But, you know, but what I'm saying is it's like a natural, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So, you know, so I just happen to see things from a different point of view, my delicious little babies, and it's very good to look at all different angles, and that's all that I'm saying. Okay, but please, very interesting to take a listen to that video. I know it sounds like I've gone round the houses. I certainly have not. I'm just, there we are, seeing things and explaining things the way I see it. Okay, my delicious little babies, but thank you for listening. For those of you who do have an interest in listening, do you know what I mean? Okay, but I'm certainly not here to tell somebody, oh, to eat cake or not to eat cake, or do you understand what I'm saying? I'm just saying I do not, like, out of all the cakes that I bake, okay, my delicious babies, I give most of it away. It is what makes, there we are, myself feel happy. I actually, there we are, enjoy giving others my cake, and it's lovely to share, and it's lovely to get feedback. As I've said on my other video, it's for myself, that's important, you know what I mean? So that if there's something that I haven't done, I would rather know. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. I mean, somebody said to me not long ago, you should do a cake stand, you know, and sell some cake. She said, I'll come and have some. And somebody else actually said it to myself, but I said, no. I said, I just, you know, if I've got enough ingredients and I've got enough to share, I'm happy to do that. I've always been that way. I've never not been that way. It's like if I've had a beautiful dear little friend come to see myself, you know, I've usually always, there we are, cooked a meal. Do you understand what I mean? It's just in my nature, the way that I am. you know, you break bread together, old-fashioned saying. Anyway, so until my next video, so no, I'm definitely not going to do one tomorrow now, okay? But I really wanted to get this out for ones to see what I'm saying. Nobody has to agree with what I'm saying, but please take a listen to that elderly gentleman. But I did advertise him, there we are, whatever o'clock ago, I did, okay? So, you know, but I never heard that particular what he was talking about, but I definitely am going to go and get his book. I will at some stage, anyway, my delicious little babies, but I just wanted to tell you about it, okay? But it is in my book because I know that I could show you that I've already advertised him long time back. There we are. Okay, my delicious babies. So whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, please have a super duper delicious time. You only get one life, my little honey bunnies. Sending peace, love, harmony, and bright blessings to each and every one of you. May you beautiful little selves, you beautiful little families, may you all be fully protected, and how I love you so. You're super duper wonderful, super duper delicious, and I love you, my little angels. Now then, the sun has got his hat on, hip 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 hooray. Yes, the sun's out now, my delicious little babies. Anyway, I've got cleaning to do. I'm just going to go and have my honey and cream cheese toast now. Okay, so you just take care, my little lovelies. How I love you so. Take care, love you. Thank you, goodbye.